Welcome back to The Explainer, everyone. Today, we are unpacking a truly fascinating case file. We're going to take a deep analytical dive into a thoroughly documented, honestly chilling supernatural phenomenon that has plagued one rural town for decades. So grab your notes and let's get right into it.
Okay, let's dive into this. 2:17. This isn't just a random time on a digital clock, right? It is the absolute anchor of our entire mystery today. In the town of Cedar Creek, this specific minute carries a heavy, terrifying weight that literally goes back generations.
We're talking about impossible precision here. It never happens at 2:16. It never happens at 2:18. It is exactly 2:17 a.m. For nearly 30 years, residents of Cedar Creek have reported an intense anomaly tied exclusively to this precise moment in the dead of night. Section 1. The Cedar Creek Phenomenon. To really understand what we're dealing with, we have to establish the baseline parameters, kind of like opening up a bizarre detective's case file. First up, the timing. It always, without fail, occurs at exactly 2:17 a.m. Second, the victim's name is whispered in the dark. Third, and honestly this is probably the most psychologically unsettling part, the voice always mimics a trusted loved one, a friend, a family member. And finally, unexplained physical occurrences inevitably follow the auditory event. Now, historically, the local police brushed this off as mere coincidence, and the papers chalked it up to mass panic. But the townspeople? Well, they gave it a name. They simply called it the voice. Section 2. Decades of dark history. To truly grasp the modern manifestations of this anomaly, we gotta turn back the clock a bit. And this brilliantly illustrates how the anomaly has a repeating pattern hidden inside dozens of decades-old notebooks across generations. Back in the mid-20th century, early research and reports were gathered by a local resident. Fun fact, his grandson, Tommy, actually plays a huge role in our modern case. Anyway, that grandfather spent years obsessively collecting data, which leads us straight to the infamous 1987 disappearance of George Carter, which in turn sets the stage for our primary case study today, the summer 2019 incident involving John Miller. Let's just pause on that 1987 data point for a second, because it's wild. According to those handwritten notebooks, George Carter claimed the voice called his name every single night for 7 days. On the 8th night, he did the unthinkable. He answered it. What happened next is just bone-chilling. Neighbors reported seeing George standing outside his house every night at exactly 2:17 a.m., just staring blankly into the pitch-black darkness. A few weeks later, he vanished entirely. No trace was ever found. Poof, gone. Section 3. The 2019 incident. This brings our investigation to our primary case study, centering on a 27-year-old delivery driver named John Miller, who suddenly found himself pulled into this decades-old cycle. Let's break down the inciting incident. Step 1. John arrives home just after midnight on a rainy Thursday night. He works these long, grueling hours delivering packages out on rural roads, so he is completely, utterly exhausted. The neighborhood is incredibly silent. But then, step 2, he notices something a bit odd. Every house on the street is dark, except for one right at the far end of the road. A single porch light flickers on and off exactly 3 times. Then, step 3, the street plunges back into total, absolute darkness. At the time, John just shook his head, blamed his fatigue, went inside, locked up, and went to sleep. But that very night, at exactly 2:17 a.m., John woke up to the sound of his name being whispered. John. It sounded close, right outside his bedroom door. Now, he managed to convince himself it was just a dream, but the next morning, as he's leaving for work, he finds muddy footprints on his porch. This is the crucial turning point right here. The footprints led directly up to his front door, but there were absolutely none leading away. Suddenly, an auditory hallucination just crossed the line into a very real physical threat. Section 4. Capturing the voice. John actually shared his experience with his friend Tommy, who then brought up his grandfather's historical research on the whole phenomenon. John was understandably rattled, but he decided to treat this analytically. He sets up a recording device in his bedroom to capture empirical proof. Sure enough, 2:17 a.m. rolls around and the whisper returns. John. It repeats 3 times and then stops. But the next morning, when he checked the tape, he got way more than he bargained for. Now, what's really interesting about this slide is the stark contrast in the audio evidence. Voice 1 was loud, familiar, repeating his name 3 times. But when he cranked the volume all the way up, he discovered voice 2. It was quiet, entirely unfamiliar, and it wasn't saying his name at all. It was whispering a count. 1, 2, 3, 4. Discovering that second voice on the tape sent this deep, awful fear right into John's stomach, and it marked a rapid escalation of the phenomenon. Step 1, objects in his home began moving entirely on their own. Step 2, doors started opening slightly without anyone even touching them. And Step 3, his dog flat out refused to enter certain rooms. The safety of his home was deteriorating night by night, rapidly building up to a terrifying climax. Section 5, the final night. I really want you to imagine the atmosphere in that house. It's late, it's pitch dark, the tension has been building for days. John knows the voice is coming, but he has absolutely no idea what form it's going to take next. For the very first time, he wakes up before the whisper. He glances at his clock and it reads 2:16 a.m. But something is terribly wrong. The house feels different, it's noticeably colder, it feels heavier. John instantly realizes that a physical presence has already breached his home, even before the clock ticks over. He's just lying there in the dark, waiting for the minute to change. The clock changes to 2:17. The whisper comes immediately. But it isn't outside his door anymore. It is inside the room, right beside his bed. John turns sharply, but no one is there. And then the voice speaks again, saying something brand new. I found you. The bedroom door slowly creaks open, revealing the pitch-black hallway. And as John stares into it, for just a brief, agonizing second, he sees a figure standing at the very end of the corridor, watching, waiting. Then it completely disappears. And to make matters worse, the next morning, every single recording on his device was gone. All the audio files were completely erased. The phenomenon had completely destroyed all the empirical evidence John had so carefully gathered. Section 6, Surviving the Mystery. After the terrifying events of that final night, John Miller did the only logical thing you really can do. He packed up, moved far away from Cedar Creek, and claims he never heard the voice again. He tells people it's completely over. But the data suggests a very different reality. The psychological toll is still extremely active. His friend Tommy knows the truth. Tommy knows that John is still secretly trapped in that cycle of fear. Because every single night, John Miller still wakes up at exactly 2:17 a.m., gets out of bed, and walks to his bedroom door just to make absolutely sure it's still locked. The voice might be gone, but the terror, that never left. Which leaves us with a profound question to ponder as we close out this explainer. Are some mysteries only survived? Perhaps some phenomena just aren't meant to be solved or recorded or perfectly understood. Maybe the absolute best we can hope for is just to make it through the night. Thank you so much for joining me on this deep dive into the unexplained. Keep learning, keep analyzing, and I'll see you in the next explainer.